Hello YouTube family, it's Andrea from VW Family Farm, and today I'm just working around the house. You can see I'm in the greenhouse right now. I'm going to get some stuff done in here, and I thought I would take you on a little garden tour. We're expecting our first frost, really freeze, later this week here in Arkansas, so I'm going to try to get some things out of there that after it freezes they'll be done. So I thought I'd just take you along with me, so stay tuned. Okay, so you can tell I'm in Ben's greenhouse. So he is the one that he wanted this, he built it, he's planted all this, he's done all the work in here. We kind of both have some of our own jobs here on the homestead, and we do a lot of things together, but some things are just more his specialty and some things are more mine, and this is definitely more his. I'm going to show you what all he's got going in here and what I'm going to do in here today. So first off, I want to start I love this stuff. If you have a greenhouse, or even you can grow this in spring or in fall when it's cool. This is vining spinach. And I believe he got these seeds from Baker Creek, and it is so good. And so he just lets it climb. You could let it climb a trellis or whatever, but I just come out here when it's about supper time and I want a salad, and I just pick leaves. He had two of these going. You can see two right here, but he had another one in another location, but he might have pulled it out, I'm not sure. But this one's doing really good. He's got just kales and lettuces and things that he's got sprouting. There's a tomato. He's got all those kinds of things. If you look close, you can see little things sprouting in here. He's put in a lot of lettuces and stuff. He's also got this papaya tree that is thriving. It's getting huge. And if you can see up in there, it's starting to bloom. It's doing really well. I spent the last 5 minutes cleaning my glasses and the lens of this camera because it's so humid in here. And it's cold outside, like coat weather. But it's so humid. My glasses are fogging up. The camera's fogging up. But that's a good thing in a greenhouse. You want high humidity. So I've got lots of greens. I come out here in the mornings and pick these greens and saute them with breakfast. So he's got, those are getting kind of older, but they'll keep putting on as long as I keep picking them. This is my Meyer lemon tree that has never done so well. I'm hoping as we keep getting the water balance, it's gonna continue to get better and better. This massive thing is tomato. And climbing that is a kiwi plant that we got at the Baker Creek Spring Planting Festival. So I'm excited. They're supposed to make tiny little kiwis that you eat the skin and all. So that's what this jungle is right here. It probably needs some trimming. But there's tomatoes in there. Several actually. I'm trying to give you some perspective on how huge this tomato plant is. So like I said, it's tomato and then it's the kiwi vine also. So it's enormous. If we get tomatoes off this, that should feed us all winter for tomatoes. Okay, we've got pepper plants. They've got peppers on them. They're doing pretty good. Ben is still figuring out how to balance the water. And as that improves, everything seems to be improving. This thing is loaded with peppers. And all of these are just various seeds we got at Baker Creek. Lettuce. I think that is mere lettuce. That's our favorite kind for the greenhouse. More mere lettuce. Rosemary. He just sticks stuff in here and it'll just root in the bed with no dirt. He just sticks it in the rocks and it'll root. Which I know all you aquaponics people, that's pretty normal to you, but I think that's pretty cool to just be able to stick something in water and it root. Got some mint. think that's chocolate mint. And I've got some basil. And then here is today's project. You can see this overgrown mass of leek. I'm gonna get this out of his greenhouse. So I'm gonna settle down and I'm gonna work for a few minutes. I'm gonna take these out and kind of trim them up and get these out of here. And then we'll be on to the outside garden. I'm trying not to put the camera on Ben's sprouted lettuce down there because if I kill the lettuce, he might kill me. That is how I clean a leek up to take it inside. Okay, I got all the leek done. Let me show you. All that work in just that little pile. But I cleaned the area up. Ben's still there's a lot of rocks stuck in the roots, so he's got to finish that. The parts that I cleaned off, I've got in a basket, and I'm going to take them to the compost. And speaking of the compost, let's go out there and have a look at it. It's been a while since I've taken you out there. All right, guys, sorry for the wind, but remember when I did the devotion about bloom where you're planted, and I told you that stuff was planted on our compost pile and I didn't even know what it was? Well, I'm going to show you today what it turned out to be. So the stuff that I showed you in that video that was running all along the ground and blooming that I said might be cucumbers wound up being cantaloupe. You can see the remains of a couple little ones that rotted there. And this thing is covered in tomato plants. They just sprouted up from tomatoes we've thrown on here. And they've got little tomatoes on them. So that's what that wound up being. This is just a thought, but I didn't plant any of those tomato vines. And the funny thing is they did better than any that Ben sprouted. And we spent months watering, and I planted in my garden, and I tilled around, and we tended, and we hunted for bugs on, and all those different things. These that planted themselves on the compost pile, the conditions were right, and they sprouted up from a seed from a rotten tomato, and they've got tomatoes on them, and they're doing better than any I planted in the garden. It just, I think about things like that. Maybe I'm, sorry, dump truck. Maybe I'm too deep of a thinker, but those are the things I think about. I think, man, I've worried myself to death over this over here, but when the conditions were right, this just sprouted up on its own. So anyway, just food for thought. Okay, it's funny, I've heard a lot of talk of loofah gourds going around YouTube and different gardening sites this year, and people saying, I want to grow those next year. Well, I have been trying to grow them for like 3 years, and I was determined to get some. I just kept planting them. And this year, they grew. So I'm going to pull, if you can see this, I'm going to pull the last of them today. That's a pretty good size one right there. But what I've done is, I'm going to show you. Here's the greenhouse up here. And I've got the tomato cages piled up from some of the tomato cages that I've already taken out. I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to walk up here. We just spread these loofah gourds out on these tomato cages, not because it was some grand plan, it was just convenient and they were laying here. So I'm going to point you down here and up here. They're hanging all over the place. It gave them the perfect place to lay there and dry, and now they're dry and I'm ready to take them in. And what I'm gonna do with them, I'll show you this in the future, but probably when it's winter and I'm bored because I can't sit still. But I'm going to cut them in little sections, and then I'm gonna make my goat's milk lye soap, and I'm gonna pour it in there. So it'll be like a scrubby that's full of soap. So I'm sure someone's thought of that and done it before, but I'm gonna give it a try. So anyway, these have done awesome. I don't really have any words of wisdom or why they did awesome, because for 2 years they did nothing. So sorry about that, but I'm gonna keep trying to grow them because they're really cool and I like them. I hope this soap thing works out, so I'll keep you posted. All right, another thing I grew, it's pretty long. It's kind of grassy. Sorry about that. In the fall I kind of get lazy on keeping the grass out, but I grew turnips. For one, to put a little nitrogen back in the soil, but for another, because I like them. And another, the animals like them, so I'll throw them to them sometimes. But I'm going to pick some turnips today. The turnips will still be okay even if we have a frost. I'm not worried about that, but I'm going to pick some just because I want to eat them. Alright, you can see my tomato row is pretty pitiful, but there is still life in it. And if you come right down here, there's still tomatoes on it, so I'm gonna go down through here and see what I can salvage. There's a few little tomatoes. They're pitiful, but here's some. There's a few green ones, a few red ones. Something's eating them. I've gotten lazy on taking care of stuff. Down here's a little bit better, if you can call it that. There's a few on it. We've got a few peppers left, and I'm sorry about the wind. It's just really windy here. If it's not windy anywhere, it's windy here. And if it's windy everywhere else, it's like hurricane force here. So we got a few peppers. I'm gonna pick these too. Ben's got some lavender here in this bucket. We'll have to put that up because I don't know how lavender does, but I would assume it would die if it freezes, but you probably know more than me. So I just showed you my tomatoes and peppers, and I'm just curious, did you have a good year on tomatoes? Because we had a terrible year, probably since we've been gardening, which we've been married almost 20 years, and we've almost always had a garden. We haven't always had a homestead, but we've almost always grown some sort of vegetables to eat fresh in the summer. On a much smaller scale than now, but we have. And this is our worst year yet. So I'm just curious. I know some of you on there had an awesome year, but I don't know, it kept freezing here in Arkansas all the way up through April. And we sprouted our plants later than the year before because they got too big last year. But this year we waited, but they still got too big and they got really tall. And I'm wondering, maybe I didn't plant them deep enough. I just don't know. So in the comments, tell us, did you have an awesome year or terrible or just kind of normal? I'm just curious to know who all did well and how many didn't, because we didn't. So anyway, let's go look at the rest of the stuff. Okay, this is my herb bed, and I've still got lots of herbs going. Oregano, lemon balm, parsley and sage, and then I've got some cabbage in this bed too. And I've actually got cilantro. I love cilantro. That is probably my favorite herb. I've got dill sprouting back up. We showed you on a different video putting this bed in. And then over here, these are collards. So again, I'll pick these and kind of saute them for breakfast. This is my Swiss chard, but as you can see, I keep cutting it down because I love it. I've got this one cabbage plant that the worms are eating, and I picked the worms off. That makes me so mad. I'm not sharing with you. But I've got all the rest of these, they're not bothering, so I'm hoping I'll at least get some cabbage. Got some over there. And then I've got kale. Okay, last job for today is pick peas. You can see there's a road out through here. The plants are gone, except for down there. There's still some leaves, but you can see purple all down through there. Sorry about the grass in my garden, but by this time of year, like I told you earlier, I'm tired. I'm tired of picking grass. I'm tired of fighting it. And honestly, a fall garden is my favorite one to grow. Spring, I'm always excited. In fact, I'm already planning for next year's garden. I'm already thinking what I'm gonna grow. I'm ready to get the garden amended for the fall. We're gonna do some different things in hopes of organically fertilizing the garden. We're gonna try, for the first few months, we're gonna feed our cows hay on it so they can, what they don't eat, they'll pack down into the soil and kind of, in a way, till it in. So we're gonna give that a try. And obviously they'll be pooping on it and fertilizing it. So I'm already thinking about next year, but by this time of the year with the fall garden, I just kind of let it go. For one, grass doesn't grow as much, so it's not as much of a headache to take care of, and I just enjoy it and pick when I want to. So that's how I do it. I'm gonna go pick the peas, and then that's my final chore for today. Thanks for coming along with me. And if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. And we're thankful for all the new people that are here. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you on the next video. God bless.